It's about time the first series of The Last Dance will be released April 19, 2020. A well-anticipated documentary about the greatness of Michael Jordan, details you didn't know about the '98 season, which will bring back joyful memories for the people who got to witness MJ firsthand. Michael Jordan prevented a championship from a couple superstars of his era. Many of those greats ended up ringless and often don't get much appreciation when talked about amongst the all-time greats. How's it going, guys? My name's Wilson. Today, we'll take a look at every NBA franchise who are still haunted and devastated by Michael Jordan's dominance to this very day, how those teams were crushed by Jordan. Many of those fans likely still have nightmares about MJ ruining their beloved franchise. Number 7, the Indiana Pacers, who gave MJ's Bulls the toughest run for their money in the title years. '98 was going to be the final year Jordan, Pippen, Phil Jackson, and the Bulls front office would be together. Indy had other plans, seeking for their first finals appearance, led by sharpshooter Reggie Miller, big men Rick Smith, Dale Davis, Antonio Davis, and point guard Mark Jackson. After 2 6-point wins the first 2 games, it was supposed to be an easy 5-game series, but Miller had other ideas, drained a cold-blooded bomb in Game 4, the go-ahead game winner, tying the series. Indy also won Game 6 by the skin of their teeth. With Father Time creeping up on the Bulls dynasty, Game 7 was a grinded battle. Chicago couldn't find a basket, shot just 38% for the game, but out-hustled and out-rebounded Indy 22-4 on the offensive glass. The result, 24-3 in second chance points. Jordan shot just 9 of 25, Pippen 6 of 18. Chicago missed 17 free throws, Pacers 14. But role player Tony Kukoc dropped 21, Steve Kerr 11 off the bench, one of the most competitive series in the 90s. The Pacers did, however, make the finals 2 years later, falling to Shaq and Kobe's Lakers, made the conference finals in 2004, then Malice and the Palace happened, made it back to the conference finals in 2013 and 14 with young Paul George, only to fall to LeBron and Wade's Heat. Number 6, the Orlando Magic. After rooting Jordan's comeback in '95, many forget how they would be obliterated by the Bulls the following season. After winning 60 games, Penny Hardaway snatched a couple first place MVP votes away from Jordan. Orlando was supposed to be the next dynasty. After coming off a finals appearance with youth on their side, they were plus 400 to win the title in the preseason odds, Chicago plus 350. The Magic became tragic in the conference finals, getting swept by convincing fashion. Little did anyone know, Shaq shocked the world by signing with the Lakers that offseason after the franchise lowballed him, offered him smaller money than other team stars like Juwan Howard and Alonzo Mourning. If the series was more competitive, perhaps the Magic would have decided to give Shaq more money in the first place. An absolute tragic decision. The franchise fell apart, failed to land Tim Duncan in summer of 2000. Grant Hill was depleted by multiple injuries in the early and mid 2000s. Dwight Howard later forced his way out. The franchise hasn't been good since. Number 5, the Seattle SuperSonics. Led by the duo of Gary Payton and Shawn Kemp, the team won between 55 to 64 games, 6 seasons with head coach George Karl, after losing in 7 to the Suns in the '93 conference finals, to being the first number 1 seed ever upsetted by an 8 in '94, to falling to the 5th seeded Lakers in '95. '96 seemed destined to be their year. Won a franchise best 64 games with prime Payton, prime Kemp, Hershey Hawkins, solid vets in Deathless Shrimp, and Sam Perkins. Knocked off the Jazz in a classic physical 7-game series. Jordan's Bulls were just too much for them. Chicago was up 3-0 in the series in the blink of an eye. It was too late. Jordan won in 6. The Sonics defense did a terrific job, limited MJ to a final series low, 27 points. Seattle had another strong couple seasons after, but lost to Houston the following year, then to the Lakers. Fell out of contention into the Ray Allen years in the mid-2000s, from drafting Kevin Durant to relocating to Oklahoma City, who stupidly traded away James Harden in 2012 for being cheap, led to the eventual breakup of Westbrook and Durant. The Sonics were clearly the second best team in '96. The franchise's last championship came in 1979. Number 4, the Phoenix Suns. One of the few franchises that have yet to win a ring. Everything was going right in '93. After stealing superstar Charles Barkley from the Sixers, the team had the league's best record, 62 wins with prime Charles, Kevin Johnson, Dan Marley, Tom Chambers, Chambers, Cedric Ceballos, Danny Ainge, and young Richard Dumas, Phoenix had home court advantage throughout the postseason. The MVP got the best of David Robinson and Sean Kemp, but the best player in the game proved who was truly number one. MJ and the Bulls stole the first two in Phoenix. After a triple overtime Game 3 win for the Suns, Jordan had a game for the ages. Nothing the Suns defense could do to contain the Gold, put up a magnificent 55-point performance in Game 4 with a chance to send the series to 7. The Suns were so fearful of Jordan, who scored every point in the fourth quarter of Game 6 until John Paxson nailed the dagger in the coffin, a shot that still breaks the hearts of Suns fans many years later. The team hasn't been back to the finals since. In the coming years, Barkley was a little older, blew 2 series leads to Houston in 94 and 95. The team did find a lot of success after signing Steve Nash in 2004, combined with terrible management, from getting rid of Joe Johnson to the unfortunate timing of Robert Horry's hip check causing suspensions in 2007 to getting torched by Kobe's Lakers in 2010. From not making the playoffs since to having an awful owner, who knows when the Phoenix Suns franchise will compete for a title again. Number 3, the Portland Trail Blazers. Heavy contenders in the early 90s, led by superstar Clyde Drexler, the franchise last won a title in 1977, followed by superstar Bill Walton's injuries after selecting Drexler in 83 to getting the opportunity to pick second. The following season, the franchise regretfully passed up on Jordan himself, taking Sam Bowie, a costly mistake that still haunts the fan base to this very day. Drexler led the team back to relevancy, won 59 games in 1990, lost to Detroit in the finals to a league best 63 wins in 91, came up short to Magic's Lakers. The Glide finished second in the 92 MVP race alongside prime Terry Porter, Jerome Kersey, Buck Williams, Kevin Duckworth, Cliff Robinson, and Danny Ainge. Since Drexler and Jordan played the same position, both had amazing head-to-head regular season matchups, but Jordan absolutely annihilated Drexler and the Blazers, especially in Game 1, the famous shrug game, absolute domination the whole series, beating Portland in 6, leaving no doubt who was the undisputed best player in the game. The franchise wasn't as good after. Drexler found his way out in middle of 95. The franchise retooled in the late 90s and early 2000s with the Rasheed Wallace, Arvydas Sabonis, Damon Stoudemire years, lost to the 2000 Lakers in 7-8 years later, followed by the troubled Jailblazers to passing up on Kevin Durant in 07, combined with the injuries to Brandon Roy and Greg Oden, which cut their careers short. Portland did make it back to the conference finals in 2019 with the great Damian Lillard. If the Blazers would have selected Jordan or Durant instead at number 2, the franchise would have had multiple titles. Number 2, the Utah Jazz. Another franchise with 0 rings, the duo of John Stockton and Karl Malone was the most durable and consistent, once the second all-time leading scorer, the others first in assists and steals, 5th and 6th respectively in games played. Both made the playoffs every season of their careers, but never got over the hump, eliminated in the conference finals in 92, 94, and 96 against other elite teams. Stockton and Malone were 34 and 33 in 97. The chemistry was at an all-time high, alongside sharpshooter Jeff Hornacek, solid Brian Russell, who would be a solid 3-and-D guy in today's game, and big Greg Ostertag, knocked off Houston in the conference finals thanks to John Stockton's game-winning clincher, but ran into Jordan's Bulls, who started the series with a walk-off game-winning jumper. With tough defense, the Jazz tied the series before Jordan's infamous flu game, followed by his 39-point Game 6 performance. The best player outplayed the MVP, outscoring Malone 32-24 in the series. After a tough loss, Malone once again carried the franchise to 62 wins. Once again knocked off the aging Rockets, Malone got the best of Duncan in the semis, swept Shaq's Lakers before Kobe became a superstar. Both the Jazz and Bulls were on their last legs. With Utah having home court advantage, the Bulls stole Game 2, absolutely locked down, and demolished the Jazz in Game 3, holding them to a franchise low 54 points. After Malone played his heart out in Game 5, scored 39, Jordan capped off the last dance with a brilliant defensive play, stripping the mailman, followed by a killer crossover, nothing but bottom, an iconic jumper over Brian Russell, capping off an incredible dynasty. The Jazz still remained relevant for a few years, but too late. No match for Portland in 99 and 2000, lost to the younger Dirk Nowitzki in 01, eliminated by Sacramento in 02 and 03. The franchise got back to the conference finals in 07, during the Darren Williams-Carlos Boozer era, but got destroyed by Kobe, from 2008 to 2010, a playoff team from 2017 on, Utah's simply not good enough to be considered real contenders these days. Being so close to the finish line just to get denied, pretty brutal. Number 1, the New York Knicks, the team Jordan dominated most in the playoffs. If there was any rivalry in the 90s, New York versus Chicago would be the closest one to it. Being in the same conference, Jordan played the Knicks 5 different times in the postseason. We all know the Knicks franchise has been an absolute joke over the last 2 decades. Sadly, a lot of the fan base wasn't alive the last time the team won a championship 47 years ago. If it wasn't for MJ's dominance, New York would have likely won a title or 2. The franchise was destined for greatness after landing Patrick Ewing with the first overall pick in the '85 draft and a very controversial envelope pick that still raises many questions today. 4 years later, the team finally became relevant, posted a 52-30 record, went up against the 6-seeded Bulls, who knocked off the Cavs in the first round, led by MJ, second-year Pippen, Craig Hodges, Horace Grant, and Bill Cartwright. New York had Ewing and Oakley down low, alongside Johnny Newman, Gerald Wilkins, and Mark Jackson, but MJ proved to be too much. Stole Game 1 on the road in an overtime win with a 34-point triple-double. Bulls won Games 3 and 4. Jordan dominated on both ends with a 40-point, 10-assist, 4-block Game 6 closeout. A masterpiece performance. MJ averaged 36, 9.5 rebounds, over 8 assists, 2.5 steals, overall block on 55% shooting for the series. Easily led his team in every major statistical category. None of his teammates averaged 15. While Ewing put up 21 and 10, the Knicks were deeper, but Jordan was just too good. 2 years later, the roles were reversed. With a better Scottie Pippen, a much improved Horace Grant, the Bulls won 61 games, the Knicks 39 wins as the 8th seed, a total mismatch leading to an easy 3-game sweep. MJ put up a solid 29, 5 and 6. No Knick averaged more than 17 that series, punctuated by MJ's amazing hesitation dribble, baseline throwdown in the face of Patrick Ewing. New York then hired head coach Pat Riley. The following season went 51-31, added former All-Star Xavier McDaniel. The Knicks matched up with the Bulls better than any East teams during their title years. After eliminating the Knicks twice in 3 seasons, Chicago thought they could steamroll them, but Riley coached toughness and the hungry Knicks didn't back down. Shocked everybody in Game 1, being super physical, committing hard fouls, a straight up war, lots of altercations, a game of mental toughness. Each of the first 5 games was decided by single digits, but Jordan's leadership and greatness was personified. The chippiness continued in Game 7. MJ's trash talk was on full display, going jaw to jaw with Xavier McDaniel, backed it up with his game, proved he was simply more superior, not leaving a single doubt. Dropped 42 in Game 7, no Knicks scored more than 22. In a 110-81 blowout, both teams met again the following season. This time, the Knicks had home court advantage. The 2-time defending champs won only 57 games, New York 60, Ewing, Oakley, Anthony Mason, John Starks, Charles Smith, Doc Rivers, and Greg Anthony. A loaded squad, hungry as ever. John Stark played tough, amazing defense on Jordan. Shocked the world with his baseline dunk to seal Game 2, went up 2-0. As confident as ever in a must-win Game 3, revitalized, MJ was held to just 3 baskets, but Pippen dropped 29, Bulls won by 20, with Jordan struggling the first 3 games, held to just 32% shooting. New York played Jordan as well as any team ever did in a 3-game span. Of course, MJ would absolutely destroy, abuse, annihilate, and humiliate the Knicks for the rest of the series, especially Game 4, a 54-point masterpiece on 60% shooting, tying the series. In a pivotal Game 5, a total team effort, everybody got a hand on the ball, stopping Charles Smith underneath the basket. In the final seconds, Bulls survived, led by Jordan's triple-double, closed out Game 6. Jordan had one of his worst shooting series, still put up around 32 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists on 40% shooting. Prime Ewing averaged 26 and 11, who was heavy contenders. New York finally eliminated Chicago in the semis the following season after Jordan retired the first time, but came up short in the finals to the Rockets in the close 7-game series, followed by a heartbreak loss to the Pacers in the 95 semis. New York was getting older. Pat Riley left. The 2 teams met yet again in 96. Knicks had Derek Harper, won 47 games as the 5th seed, didn't stand a chance against Jordan's 72-win Bulls, lost in 5, MJ a typical 36 points for the series. Unfortunately, New York were legit contenders in 97, lost a 3-1 lead to Miami because of a brawl, leaving Ewing and Allen Houston suspended for Game 6, Larry Johnson and Starks for Game 7. The fight ruined another rematch with Knicks Bulls in '97, an absolute travesty we couldn't win this round 6 of that matchup. The Knicks haven't been relevant since the start of the 21st century, won only one playoff series the last 20 years, an absolute joke. The painful days of Knicks fans will continue. Having golden opportunities in '92 and '93, Jordan absolutely owned them. I didn't mention the Cleveland Cavaliers. Since LeBron James led the franchise to a title in 2016, Jordan humiliated the Cavs just as bad as the Knicks, going 4-0 against them in the playoffs, not only with the shot in '89, but MJ hit 2 closeout game winners against Cleveland in the postseason. Which one of these franchises do you think will be the next to win a title where Jordan's greatness won't haunt them forever? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching this video. I love all of you. See you next time.